Welcome back, fellow gamers. So today I want to talk to you about my deck that I use today for the first time after building it is the Leovold Emissary of Trest. Can I get this to focus? It's this glare I see. So each opponent can't draw more than one card each turn. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. So the way I decided to build them was pretty much have all the good draw engines that usually you wouldn't play because you don't want to give other players card advantage. And just stick into this deck and have a few win conditions. So this is my win condition pile. I'll get to that last. I'm going to go through pretty much everything in my deck. Now somebody did ask me for a deck list on Tapped Out. Yes, on Tapped Out. I don't have any deck lists up on there yet, but what I will start doing is I will start putting all these decks that I show on my channel onto Tapped Out, and I'll have a link in each video. This will be retroactive, so if you are looking in the description and I don't have it, do know that I will be getting around to it. And if you are looking at the video and I already have the link there, feel free to check it out. Alright, so let's jump into it. We'll start with the mana base. Now this isn't in any particular order here, so I'm going to go through pretty much the ones I usually put in each deck. So there's Thespian Stage. I pretty much like it for its copy ability. It gives a lot of abilities, especially when you have a bounce land and you pretty much avoid bouncing your land. You're paying the 2, but hey, that's that boon or bust later on down the road that's going to help you. And then Vesuva, pretty much a staple for me. Command Tower in any multicolored deck. Maze of Ith. If I get into trouble or I need to remove one of my attackers, this is always a good way to go. Of course, Strip Mine. Who doesn't love Strip Mine? And then if you like Strip Mine, you like Wasteland. Destroying target non-basic is always good. Obviously, this one here, targeting any land is awesome. Ancient Tomb, while he doesn't really help my general get out, or I'm talking as if the land's a person. 2 extra mana to pump out some of the artifacts or help cast the colorless creatures that I might have, or just the generic mana is a great help. Simic Growth Chamber, Temple of Malady. This is pretty much in here for the scry, so I can filter out my cards. Late game, get rid of my land that I might not need. Polluted Delta, Overgrown Tomb. Don't really need to explain that. Hinterland Harbor, Tropical Island, Breeding Pool, Temple of Deceit. Again, the scry ability is extremely relevant. Underground Sea, I was going to call it Underground River. Sunken Ruins, Bayou, Hallamar Depths, Woodland Cemetery, and then nice little basic. I think this is the only basic I have in the deck. Didn't really want to do it that way, but I just ended up having a lot of lands that I wanted to throw in. Sunken Hollow, Yavimaya Hollow is always a great addition to decks that run green. Choke Estuary. I actually might take these out in lieu of the basic lands. I think I might need a bit more basics in here. Academy Ruins, getting back certain artifacts, especially we're going to be running a lot of artifacts in our draw. I want to make sure that I can recur them. Twilight Mire or Mirror, Temple of Mystery, again that beautiful scry. Mirror Pool, this is actually the first deck I run it in, trying to see how good it is. I think it would be a lot better if I had a Crucible of Worlds in here, but I just don't want to run it. I originally had Crucible of Worlds in my deck. I took it out. I just didn't feel I had enough land that could justify a spot for it. Westvale Abbey. Now this here is really if the board stalls out, I'm not drawing anything, that I can bring a 9/7 flying lifelink indestructible onto the battlefield. There we go. Teleria West, Watery Grave, Bodruka Bog, Opulent Palace, Minamau, Schools at Water's Edge, Alchemist Refuge, so if I need to cast some creatures. Reflecting Pool is always a good one, and Urborg, Tome of Yawgmoth. Whoops, it would be nice if I kept it in frame. Now one thing I will mention before I start getting into the creatures, which I did not mention at the start of this video, so hopefully you haven't skipped this part that I'm about to say. I and my playgroup do not use the ban list. So you will see cards in this deck that are banned by the official Commander's Rules Committee. A lot of the times, the cards that are banned, I don't agree with. I don't agree with the justification. So, as a playgroup, we have chosen to ignore the ban list. And to be quite honest, we do not have any problems with degenerate cards because we do not run degenerate combos. So here are our random spells and tutor abilities. So, demonic tutor, kind of a given. Oh, that should not be in there. That should be in the draw pile. Liliana of the Veil, really great for discarding cards. I will be running a surplus of cards, so my getting rid of one card won't really make that big of a deal. But if somebody's forced to only draw in one card and I'm making them discard cards, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. The top, I mean, no real reason not to run this. Temporal Mastery, always good for that extra turn. Mind's Dilation is a card that's actually done me a lot of good. I had it during the pre-release. I played it during the pre-release, won me a few games, and when I played with this deck already, I found it to be pretty good. It was removed fairly shortly thereafter because I top decked 2 great cards from each of my opponents, so I can't complain there. Vampiric Tutor, another great card. Omniscience, or Omniscience, if you've listened to my How to Pronounce Magic Cards Incorrectly video. I'm going to be drawing a lot of cards, and maybe I won't have the mana to play it, so this ensures that I can draw everything that I can play everything that I draw. Time Stretch, taking 2 extra turns. Come on. Come on. Show and Tell, ideally, I have Omniscience in my hand, and I show and tell this baby right onto the battlefield. One of my favorite plays of doing all the magic. Mind's Desire. So if I'm playing a lot of spells, because my hand is full, I will activate Storm, and I will just get to keep top decking the top of my library. Expropriate. Card that I am excited to play. I haven't drawn it yet, but hey, it is, essentially good. Like, I'm assuming that most people will choose money. So starting with you, each player votes for time or money. For each time vote, take an extra turn after this one. For each money vote, choose a permanent owned by the voter and gain control of it. Exile. And it's got Leovold on the front. I mean, it's on theme, right? So those are some of my spells that I play in game. Obviously, Omniscience is the tour de force. Now, oh yes, Damnation. So this is my removal pile, and I do include counterspells in here. So, Damnation, you know what it does. It needs a reprint, according to everybody. Force of Will, obviously if I'm in a pinch and I'm tapped out, I can always use Force of Will. Maelstrom Pulse, great against token decks, or what's really prominent in my play group is that card, I forget its name. It's the blue-green copy creature, and it essentially gets rid of a bunch of tokens and the copied creature. I'll flash the image up on the screen, so just in case you don't know what I'm talking about. Pact the Negation, again, great for having players think that you're completely tapped out. They try to make a play and bam! Bam! Pact the Negation. Funny story is that 2 of my buddies have forgotten to pay the cost during the upkeep, and they've lost the games, and we are on the floor laughing every time it happens. Mana Drain. So here, obviously getting your colorless mana in and adding the amount that's equal to the countered spell is amazing. Done early in the game at the right time, it can set you up for a great turn, especially if you're somebody like me in this deck that has a lot of cards. Great for general removal. I'll turn that into a colorless forest and then just, let it sit there. Cyclonic Rift, great for returning a bunch of stuff to a person's hand. Counterspell, the premier counterspell, very easily accessible. Cryptic Command, obviously, great use of a counter target spell. Returning permanent. tapping all the creatures or just even drawing a card. My general modular choices are counter target spell or and then tap all creatures. Generally what I like to do. Alright, so here are our creatures. Clever Impersonator, always great to be able to copy any non-land permanent on the battlefield. Leovold, Dimir Mastermind. Whenever a creature card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, you may have Leovold, Dimir Mastermind become a copy of that card, except its name is still Leovold, Dimir Mastermind. It's legendary in addition to its other types and gains hexproof and this ability. Generally, if I can knock out a nice big boy and then just have Leovold become a copy of it, that's amazing. Snapcaster Mage. So getting, one of my big spells back is always great. Lighthouse Chronologist. This guy is a complete threat. He is left unchecked. Pretty much a win. Just by taking all the extra turns. My play group, they try to get rid of this card as soon as it drops. They waste usually a lot of cards just trying to get rid of them. Spellscape, so protecting cards like Lighthouse Chronologist, like my General, that's where it's all at. Gilded Drake, taking the good stuff and then giving him a 3/3 flyer. Stunt Double, I actually got an opportunity to use this in my game, both games, and it went great. In one case I was being attacked by a large creature. I don't remember what creature it was. All I remember is that there was a Phyrexian Obliterator on the table. Stunt doubled right into a Phyrexian Obliterator and then had him sacrifice a bunch of stuff. Here is the card I was talking about, Progenitor Mimic. So Progenitor Mimic, yeah, for 6, making tokens of copies of creatures, especially creatures with enter the battlefield abilities. Come on. Seedborn Muse. So being able to untap all my land and other permanents on other players' steps, and then, if you have a way to play flash or you have a lot of instances in your hand, you can unload them so you're not caught with a large hand that you have to discard down. Tasigur, the Golden Fang. That's really some recursion right here. You don't really get back the things that you want, but my deck is like one of my buddies mentioned, there's just too much good stuff. It's picking, between two real evils. Sometimes I get back a mana rock that might have been discarded or that was just, put into the graveyard from Tasigur's ability, but eventually you're going to get a lot of good stuff in there. And Teferi, oh man, playing creatures with flash is a huge boon, especially when you have a large hand size. Pair that with Seedborn Muse and you are on easy street. Sylvan Primordial, so a card that is banned, but you know what? It doesn't really cause that big of a deal. The 2 extra land that we get from, because we usually play 3 people in our play group, sometimes 4, but the 2 or 3 land that we're getting isn't really a big deal. Generally, destroying a permanent each, it can harm them, and it'll set me up a bit ahead with the, both land count and removing 3 threats. But hey, that's the name of the game. You pay the price. Primeval Titan, so another banned card. We don't tutor for Primeval Titan just because it is a blowout when you start tutoring for him, on round with mana acceleration and stuff like that. You get him out round 3, the game is pretty much over. We just don't tutor for him. And I guess this was the ban circle right over here. Prophet of Krufix, very strong card. I don't think it should have been banned. I know that some people were complaining about it, but I really we just usually get rid of the Prophet of Krufix that's on the table. This really doesn't stay long. It'll stay a turn, 2 turns max. Run removal. That's my suggestion. Let's go to the Mana Rocks next. So, Mox Diamond, not much to say here. Mana Crypt, again, speaks for itself. Soul Ring, and Chrome Mox. Let's go with our draw engines. Not even engines, but just our draw cards. So, Mind's Aglow. So, the worst part for here was, I never liked playing this card because it was the Join Forces ability where everybody started drawing cards, but now with this, they're drawing 1 card max. So if they want to put in 1 mana and they're giving me that card advantage, go right ahead. Make my day. Putting charge counters. This card was never a card I wanted to play simply because each player draws cards for each charge counter on Otherworld Atlas. Well, now I get a good amount of card draw and you do not. Howling Mine, Jade Archivist, so having each player discard his or her hand and draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. So eventually what's going to happen in your hand is you're going to accumulate a bunch of land. Well, this is a good way of getting rid of that land. It's a good way of emptying your opponent's hand and only having them draw one card. Booyah. Consecrated Sphinx, great card to have. I run it in every blue deck. Rites of Flourishing, so while you are getting that extra land drop and you are giving an extra land drop to everybody else, if they're only drawing one card per turn, generally you should be okay. You know, drawing the additional card is clutch. Font of Mythos, so again, just like the Cavern. Great ability, affects everybody, but hey, under these circumstances it only affects me. Same deal with Dictate of Crufix. Temple Bell, I'm actually going to take this card out. Days Undoing, having each player shuffle his or her hand and graveyard into the library, but not drawing the 7 cards, is great. Same thing with Well of Ideas. It gives you 2 cards when you enter the battlefield, when it enters the battlefield. And then you're having 2 additional cards at the beginning of your draw step. Love it. Sylvan Library, that's really just to help you out early game to start getting going. Start messing around at your top of the deck in case you don't have the top. Ginge Taxis, just another early draw engine, and getting rid of people's hand size is great. Windfall, same deal. Each player discards his or her hand, and then they just, you know, they essentially lose their hand except for 1 card. And this Chemi of the Crescent Moon, again, at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. No, he does not. Not when this baby's out. Now, here is my recursion. Pull from the Deep, so bringing back 1 instant and 1 sorcery card is of great relevance, or just bringing everything back. And here, slowly bringing everything back 1 at a time, or putting it into your hand is awesome. I love this enchantment. All right, let's go to our win conditions. So Karn, while he might not be a flat-out win, restarting the game and having a bunch of stuff under him will ensure, unless you get really unlucky, you should win the game. I think I've done this once. It's more like getting rid of permanent than getting rid of cards in their hands, really making them play around Karn. Ugin just makes people scoop, and it's just what it is. Even though he's, again, not really flat out ending the game, unless you have a really awesome board and you're able to exile a bunch of permanents that only affect your opponents, that is the win condition. But gaining 7 life and then, you know, putting 7 permanent cards onto the battlefield is usually pretty good. Enter the Infinite, so drawing your deck and just make sure you get Omniscience out there, and you're gonna win the game. But you might be like, well, you can't win the game because you're gonna lose the game. No, with Laboratory Maniac, you won't. I haven't slotted this guy in yet. I took him out in my original build, but I am gonna replace him with Temple Bell. Just, you know, as a safety precaution in case I am allowed to, you know, enter the Infinite, and then for whatever reason something happens, I can try to go that way to win. Villainous Wealth, really just making sure you have a bunch of land out there. I've played where X is 20 and 30, and that wins the game. Memnarch, so making, you know, all of your opponent's threats that can help you out is the way to go. And Rexel of the Risen Deep, so really playing those big bombs that people have either tried to play or you've had them discard, making them pay with their own stuff. I love it. I love Rexel. I made a commander deck around Rexel, and it was an absolute tank. Absolute tank. I don't know if I have my deck list anywhere, but I'll try to rebuild it and do a video on Rexel the Risen Deep. He is an amazing commander. So that's my deck. Now, I did say that I would go into what I would like to change. This is the big change here. I didn't include Jace Beleren, simply because I didn't want to do his plus ability and have it be the only ability for drawing that I would have, and having people still draw those extra cards. Eventually, yeah, you can make the argument about some of the other draw engines, but with Jace, it's just you have to play him like with his loyalty abilities. You've got to protect him. I just thought, you know what, I'll go an easier route with something that's less removable than a Planeswalker. So I would love to know how you play Leovold. What cards did you put in that you think I should be doing or I should be placing in here? let me know in the comments. I would love to hear it. I'm looking to making this deck better. I want people to hate playing against him. He is an incredible general. And one of the best things that I find with him is once you win, extend your arm like that. Give your friend a handshake. I did it at the end of both of my games, and my friends were like, "You're an idiot." Just make sure you got the handshake going. It is a nice foil though, holy cow. Thanks for watching. Now don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. If you'd like to see more, click on one of the 2 videos that are there, or click on show more in the description below to see when and what we upload, as well as when we stream. And if you need an update on what exactly we're going to be streaming that week, don't be shy to hit us up in the comments or reach out to us on Twitter. We'll be more than happy to chat. Until next time, good gaming.